So picking up here at part 2 of Makeup Artist Horror Story. If you have not seen part 1, it will be linked up in the cards for you right now. Go watch it or else you're gonna be totally lost and pissed this whole time. If you haven't already, subscribe, do all the things. We're gonna make this intro super duper short so we can get right on into the story time. Go follow me on TikTok at MorganShay33. Everything's linked down in the description box. But without any further ado and any more blabbing, let's go ahead and get into part 2 of this Makeup Artist Horror Story.
2, 3, let's switch this up.
So immediately after decided that I wasn't going to work with Shelly anymore, and she had reached out to me probably half a dozen times in between the first time that I worked with Shelly and the last time I worked with Shelly. And the next time that I worked with Shelly, she had reached out and said, there is this woman getting married. Keep all of this in mind. There's this woman getting married. She's getting married in 6 months. She lives out of state. They are coming here for a destination wedding. So I tell Shelly, listen, typically what I do in these types of situations is I like to go and travel and meet the bride, or while they're up here looking at the venue or having a meeting or whatever, I like to meet with them here. Shelly then informs me that they're being married on a piece of their family's property and that they would not be up here until the wedding. And I said, okay, well, I'm definitely going to need a photo of the bride. She then sends me a photo of a bride because I let her know, listen, we're not going through what happened the last time. I will not move forward until I have a photo. She sends me a photo of a female Caucasian woman. Fast forward to the wedding. The way that my contract is mapped out, when you're working through a lot of coordinators, typically you have a 2-party contract, meaning this contract covers myself and Shelly. So it's a contract in one, and a lot of wedding planners provide these contracts. On the contract, gave everything that I wanted included, and she included everything, and she had it signed. So I knew that everything that I wanted included was included. And part of that was 50% of payment was due as a deposit to hold that date down. And the other 50% was due by the wedding. The day of the wedding, I need to be paid the other 50%. My contract is no longer like that. I need to be paid a month in advance because of shit like this. But at the time, I'd never had an issue with it. So my first issue with money after contracts. Of course, I had issues before contracts. That's what created the contract. So I get to the wedding and I'm still owed 50% of my payment. And as soon as I get to the venue, which was at this beautiful property in East Tennessee, I go to Shelly and I'm like, hey, I still need the other 50% of my payment. And she was like, don't worry. They're paying all of the vendors the rest of their payment today at the wedding. And I thought that was red flag number 1. I thought that was very weird because typically brides and grooms do not want to deal with things such as payment the day of their wedding. It's already a very hectic day. So I found that very strange. And it gave me a really weird vibe and a very weird note to start off on when you haven't been paid. You know, it just kind of puts things in a very weird perspective when you're still waiting for payment. But I kept my chin held high and I went to where Shelly told me that the bride was getting married. Remember, bride. She said that she would be in there shortly, that this was going to be her first time meeting the bride. And that was red flag number 2, because why have you not at least FaceTimed with this person? Like nothing. Like I was like, okay, this is weird. So I'm walking to the area where Shelly told me that they were getting ready. And I run into a very good friend of mine who's been mentioned on this channel, John. He does makeup as well. And he was at this event. He was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe you're here, blah, blah, blah. Good to see you. You know, I'm so glad we're doing this together. And he was like, are you still owed money? And I said, yes. And he said, so am I. And I said, well, apparently Shelly said that they were going to pay everybody before the wedding. And he was like, okay. and he was there to do the bridesmaids. I was specifically there for the bride, the maid of honor, and the mother of the bride, mother of the groom. So I had 4 faces to do this day. We got there super early. Probably, if I were to guess, around 10 o'clock in the morning, and the wedding was at 6. Enough time to get all the faces done, whatever. Anyways, we go to the area where we're doing the makeup, and I see the hairstylist over in the corner, and she runs directly up to myself and John. And she says, I do not want you guys to be in the same awkward position I was just in. It's 2 grooms getting married. And me and John just kind of look at one another and we're like, huh? And she said, yes. So please keep that in mind. She was like, it's grooms getting married and we're taking care of one of the grooms. And so I'm like, okay, well, thank God she told me this. And I was like 100%. I knew that Shelly said a woman. And for John, he was like, fine, he's doing the bridesmaids. But for me, I have no idea what this person wants me to do to their face. I've had no consultation. And when I had spoke to Shelly, she said that the bride wanted full glam makeup. So as soon as, which is fine, I just want to make sure that that's what he wants before I start applying makeup. So I go and introduce myself to him. He tells me he wants to be called the groom. He is not the bride. He is the groom. And all he wants is a soft, natural, very natural looking. He just wanted his skin evened out, his brows evened out. He wanted a little bit of mascara, and he wanted some lip balm. He wanted very natural male makeup. Already, this is off to a weird start. It is very reminiscent of the last time that I did a wedding for Shelly, and I'm just pissed off. It's just an awkward situation to put a vendor in because they're expecting one thing, and this is why I require a consultation. There is no way around it. I don't give a fuck if I've seen you 1,000 times. I don't give a fuck if you're my family. I don't care who you are. We will have a consultation or I will not be your makeup artist, and it is all because of this situation that I had with Shelly. So time marches on. We do the makeup. Everything's fine. Also, if either of these grooms watch this video, you guys were fabulous. Wedding goes on, and they want the makeup artist to stay throughout to touch up makeup for photos and things like that. However, I did not know at the time that this was going on, but the hairstylist, and after photos were taken, the photographer, one of the vendors for like decorations and stuff, were out arguing with Shelly on the side of the building during the reception for payment, because they still hadn't been paid and they were leaving. So I didn't know any of this was going on. Keep this in mind. But I see 2 of the groom's, his sisters, run out to the side of the building. Didn't really think anything of it. I just thought, well, maybe they have a surprise or something. Fast forward a little bit later, you can then hear like cursing going on the outside of the reception hall. Now, let me say this. If you are waiting for payment at a wedding, I know that it is a pain in the ass to have to sit around, but also this is going to be someone's wedding day. If you can, just try to find it in you to just be patient. You know, if you have another gig to get to, try your best to just be as calm as possible. Never approach the bride or grooms in these types of situations. Try to find a family member to softly let them know that you need payment because you have to leave. Never do what these people did. It was very rude, uncalled for, and it made the rest of the wedding just have a really awkward tone to it. But they were out there cussing. You could hear them in the reception hall, which, by the way, was a barn on their family's property that was gorgeous. It was not just some rinky-dink barn. It was like the state-of-an-art barn with like fully insulated, heated, and aired, and gorgeous. But you could hear them outside of this barn, like fully screaming, yelling, cursing. And I can hear that they're requiring payment. And the hairstylist had another gig that she had to go to. And this is also why I added to my contract, like, you're locking down that day. I no longer, when I'm doing a bride, I no longer do double days, because when you do that, you are putting yourself at such a risk for the other bride, groom, etc., because they really do need your full attention that day. That is why I do not double book weddings. It's just a bad idea. So I hear that they're arguing for payment, and me and John are sitting beside one another. They had put me and John at the same table with other people who were entertaining at this wedding. There was like a DJ that was sitting there. There was also a singer that was singing songs at the wedding sitting there. There was myself, John. There was the photographer, videographer, like a bunch of the people who were vendors were sitting at this table. And we're all like, have you got paid? Are you owed? Everyone was owed money. Every single vendor at this wedding was owed money, including a florist who stayed the entire time as well, which typically the florists, they leave after they set up like the flowers and stuff. So like this florist was like an older lady as well, and her son was with her, and her son was fit to be tied. So this is where things get awkward, because now all of us know that we're owed 50% of our money. And just sitting at this table alone was around 30 grand worth of money owed. That's a lot of fucking money. There's some really pissed off people, like really, really pissed off. For example, their photographer and the video, they use 2 separate companies to video and take photos. One of them was from New York City, the videographer was, and the photographer was from Atlanta, and she is renowned. She is a very good photographer. I've worked with her on 2 weddings. Phenomenal, but she's expensive as fuck. So at this table alone is 30 racks, like owed out. I could not imagine owing I couldn't imagine owing any of my vendors on my wedding day, but especially all of them, like owing all of your vendors. Once all of this comes about, I am the one I'm a Sagittarius. Like if you take me there, I will go there with you. I then go to Shelly because I also feel responsible, because I was also one of the only people who had worked with Shelly previously. I think I was the only person. I'm pretty sure I was the only person who had ever worked with Shelly. So I was basically voted to go and have this conversation with her, and she was staying as far away from us as possible. Come to find out, Shelly is in the parking lot, of course. This is who they're all cussing out. And at first, we thought it was a family member. It was not. It was Shelly. Family had then came outside and found out they thought it was just these couple of vendors owed. And I then have to let this family know that every single vendor is owed for this wedding. I'm talking food. I'm talking flowers. I'm talking everything. Everything that goes into a wedding. Even people that set up the chairs, the occasion rental place, they were owed money. Like everybody was at this wedding owed money. And this fucking mom is crying because she does not want to have to go and bother her son and say, hey, they're owed money. So the mom is like, well, how much money is owed? And she's adding it up in her iPhone, like how much money is owed. Meanwhile, the hairstylist is being redneck as hell, like cussing them out, threatening to cut tires, like all kinds of shady shit, all because Shelly didn't have her shit together, come to find out. So eventually the groom, the one who did not get his makeup done, comes out. He is like, why are they not paid, Shelly? We wrote you a check for their payment 4 months ago, meaning 2 months after Shelly contacted me, they gave her the money for all of us to be paid, which is typical. Typically after a person gets your service, either they pay in full or they pay half and a couple months later pay the other half. Like that's typically how it goes. So we're all owed money, and Shelly's like, I did not get the money, blah, blah, blah. And this man was smart as a deck of cards, you guys. He pulls out the contract out of his bag. He's like, here is where I signed. This is where you signed the day that we wrote you the check. And this is when we find out that they were in town. They had been in town. They had come back and forth in town for months. She lied. She straight up lied. She was like, this is where you signed. This is where I signed, which then made me wonder, like, how did you not know that it was a man when you met with him months ago? It's because she literally doesn't keep up. She's just all over. This job literally is not for her, you guys. I mean that in the nicest way possible. It literally is not. So she is like refusing that she has been paid. Like she's saying, you all owe me money, blah, blah, blah. And then when he pulls out that paper, you guys, this bitch starts hightailing it. And by this point, keep in mind, the other groom, the fathers are outside, brothers, sisters, the whole event, for the better part, I would say 85% of the wedding attendants are all outside of the bar now. This is a now public affair. And Shelly fucking books it down the driveway. She's a runner. She's a track star. Like, running, bitch. Bye. The mother of one of the grooms was not having it in the slightest. She fucking hightailed it, chasing after Shelly. And one of the sons gets in a golf cart at the barn and drives after her, and they block the gate to leave their home. Shelly had ended up getting in her car, everything, trying to book it, and they had blocked the driveway. So basically, they were saying that they were going to get a theft of services charge on her if she did not supply all of us with the money owed. She then tried to argue with us for about an hour, asking us, please, can you wait 2 weeks to cash it until the money clears. And we were like, no, we're going to try to cash. Like, fuck that. Like, no, you owe us money. Fuck this. I don't want a check. I want cash. Like, I'm not leaving here with the check. So long story short, you guys, her husband ended up having to drive out 30 grand. That apparently they keep like all this money in their house because she's fucking a fraud. She is a scammer. Had to run all this money all the way up to Townsend, Tennessee. If you're familiar with Townsend, you probably know, the area. Like, it's a long drive from wherever you're driving from, especially when you're driving from the Gibbs area. That is where she lived, and that's where her husband had to drive from Gibbs all the way to Townsend. So it took him almost 2 hours to get up there with our money. The whole wedding revolved around this. I felt so fucking bad for these guys, but they were so cool. They were like, if worst case scenario happens, like, we will file a claim with our bank on her and we will give all of you your money back, which is what they ended up having to do with the hairstylist, because she was raising such a fit, you guys, like threatening to cut like the family's tires and like all kinds of crazy shit, that the grooms actually had to write her a check and they had to file a claim with their bank over the check that they had given Shelly. And I was told later that everything was found with their bank and everything was fine. They got their money back. This is just for me to say, you guys, like, if you are a vendor when it comes to weddings, whether it be makeup, hair, photography, videography, whatever it may be, please, please, please make yourself a contract. Make sure that you have consultations, and also make sure with your contracts that you only allow you to have your own. So therefore, you will not do second party contracts. You will not go in with another vendor on a contract. You require your own contract. I hope you guys did enjoy this part 2 to a makeup artist horror story. If you like these makeup artist horror stories, I have a bunch left. If you would like another, please give this video a like so that I know that you enjoy not only story times, but you like these in particular. Be sure that you do subscribe before you leave today, and also go follow me over on TikTok at MorganShay33. We have all kinds of fun content over there, including short story time. So if you enjoy a MorganShay story time, but you want to hear a little bit more, be sure to go follow me over on TikTok. Thank you all so much for stopping by today. I love you guys so much, and I've missed you guys so much. It feels so good to be back telling story times. I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.